Okay, got everything set up here finally. Sorry about that. Had to download Google. Can't believe they don't have Google on this computer. So this is BA 487, International Business Law. My name is John Hasbrook. I'll be your instructor for the course. I recognize quite a few of you from some of my previous classes, so welcome back. So a little bit about myself, for those of you that don't know me, for those of you that do know me, just sort of some background. I am a practicing attorney. That's what I do in the real world. My law practice is here in Monmouth. I've been here for 1997 to today, whatever that works out to, a little while. I've actually been practicing law since 1991. I'm a Salem, grew up there, went to Sprague, and then I went to Linfield and Willamette, and that's where I got my law degree. And while I was in law school, I worked for the Department of Justice over in Salem in the Attorney General's office in the Criminal Justice Division and in the Trial Division. After I graduated law school, I went to work in downtown Portland for the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office. So I used to be a prosecutor in downtown Portland. Did that for a number of years. And then I went to work for a trucking company in the Salem area as what's called corporate counsel, in-house counsel. Big truck company, ran 800 semi-trucks all throughout the United States. And my job was to deal with problems when we got into an accident or whatever the case may be. Sometimes that would even take me up into Canada, dealing with transportation issues. And then I moved over here to Monmouth back in the late 90s, and I took over a practice of lawyer here in town, and I've been here ever since. Right now, my primary practice areas are in business law, so I do a lot of business setup, small business, LLCs, S corporations, C corporations, do a lot of contract law, estate planning, wills and trusts, and after people die. And I do a little bit of international law, not as much as originally I had intended when I went to law school, but I do have clients in Australia, Spain, and some other countries, so I do have some interaction with international law. So I tell you my background because I want you to know this is what I do in the real world. Is I'm a practicing lawyer. I've been teaching here at Western since 1999, a few years now. I've been teaching this class for about 6 or 7 years, something like that, maybe a little longer. So a couple things on that. Number one, if you need to get a hold of me, the best way to get a hold of me is at my law practice. And let me just pull up our syllabus real quick. Okay, so I do have an office here on campus, although I'm really not there very often. My law practice is just down the road from here on the other side of 99W, about 3 blocks past Burgerville towards Independence. And so essentially I go to my practice, I come here, I teach my class, and I go back. So if you need to get a hold of me, the best way to get a hold of me is to contact me at my law office. So I have my phone number here, 503-838-0251. That is the phone number for my law practice. And if you call, you'll either get me or my assistant, Sally or Deanna, or you'll get my voicemail. And just if you leave a message, let them know you're a student. And if I'm there, they'll put you through. If not, they'll give you to my voicemail. As far as email goes, you can email me at hasbroj@wu.edu or at johnhasbrook@msn.com. The johnhasbrook@msn.com is the email I use for my practice, and that's what goes to my desktop computer at my law practice. That's what goes to my iPhone, all the pads, and my Apple CarPlay, and all the different things we have nowadays. So I tell you that because I actually check my MSN account much more frequently than the Western account. So if you're going to email me, I recommend you email me at both, and make sure you put in the subject line something about, BA 487 or international law class or Western or something. That way, hopefully you don't go in my spam box, because I get a lot of emails. I have my spam filter set pretty high. So if you don't hear back from me, you may have gone into my junk box, and just maybe give me a call or see me after class or something. So if you do want to have a meeting, we can schedule a meeting, either meet after class here or at my office over in West House, or we can do a Zoom meeting. That's what I've been doing with all the COVID thing. Whatever works for you, if you want to actually have a meeting. I don't really have set office hours since the whole COVID thing, and so I do everything by an appointment basis at this point. Okay, a little bit more about the class. So this class, I'll tell you right now, we had to convert to Canvas, and so I had this class all set up on Moodle. I teach it once a year in the winter term, and so I'm still in the process. I couldn't just take Moodle and cut and paste it over to Canvas for some reason. So I'm still in the process of getting our Canvas page kind of where it used to be when I had it on Moodle. So sometimes we'll go on Canvas and you'll see something either new or something that wasn't there because I'm fine-tuning it. But so just kind of keep that in mind. If you come across something on Canvas that's not working right, maybe one of the online quizzes, which I'll show you in a minute, or something else, please let me know. Send me an email if you want to take a screenshot with your phone or whatever. That will really help me out. It's always difficult when we convert from one software system to another. There's always glitches. So I just throw that out there right now up front because it's probably going to be commonplace this term until I get my Canvas page all fine-tuned again. So just be aware of that. So in terms of the class itself, let's start with the books. So the technical textbook is Ray August et al., International Business Law, and the 6th edition. I don't think they have a more current edition. Ray August passed away here a few years ago. He's big in international law field. So this is the actual textbook I use. I will tell you right now that there are 2 previous earlier editions of this book that will work just fine for the class. They just won't let me order them at the bookstore. And they're a little bit, well, quite a bit cheaper than having to buy this thing new. So if you do come across a previous edition on Amazon or whatever, that's fine. This class is totally open book, open note. All of your testing is going to be online. We have 10 quizzes, which let me get down here to right here. So we have 10 quizzes that are online, and they're true, false, and multiple choice, and just each quiz sort of covers the topic area. Might be the World Trade Organization or United Nations or whatever. And those are all done online. All your answers will show up in Canvas, hopefully, knock on Formica. And then there'll be a midterm and a final exam, which are also going to be online. And those are also true, false, and multiple choice type questions. The online quizzes are worth 100 points, which is 10% of your overall grade. Midterm and the final are worth 250 points each. And then the last part are essay questions. There are 4 essay questions that I'll have you do and have you post those on Canvas once I get that fixed so you can upload. And those are going to be worth essentially 100 points per essay question, or 400 points in total. So total course points are 1,000 points based upon all that. And again, everything's open book, open notes, and even open internet if you want to look things up and that kind of thing. And I'll talk about this more as the class progresses. So I don't really have any due dates on any of these. Essentially, you can work on the quizzes and everything on your own schedule. I did that when we went completely remote, and everybody seems to like that, and so I'm going to leave it that way, so we don't have like a set midterm day or a set finals day. We're not going to have live tests, so when finals week rolls around, they have the finals schedule for this class. You can ignore it. We're not going to have a face-to-face final. It will all be online. So the only hard due date we have is I want everything in by Wednesday of finals week, which, if I remember, is March 16th. And because I'm going to be grading on Thursday morning, and then I'm taking off. Don't know where I'm going yet, but I'm going somewhere. Hopefully warm, right? So everything is due Wednesday of finals week. by the end of the day, and then I'm going to start grading on Thursday. I highly recommend you try to do most of this stuff as the course moves along so you don't get all overwhelmed at the end. I say that every term. I always have a couple students that do that anyway, but it's better if you work your way through as the course progresses. That way you just don't get totally burdened at the end. But I don't have any set due dates for the quizzes or anything else, so it's whenever you want to turn them in. However, it's all going to be in by Wednesday, March 16th. Okay, so the other textbooks, so there's this book here, and I will put this on reserve at the library for 2-hour reserve, or I think it's, no, 4-hour reserve. The way I use the textbook is more for background reading. I don't really have any assignments that I'm going to make you do out of the textbook or anything like that. We're not going to have it in class where you have to open and turn to page whatever. Everything is going to be basically open on your own time. So on the textbook, if you, like I say, you can use previous editions. The materials that I teach really haven't changed a whole lot because we talk more about sort of fundamental international law, more so than we do get into current world event kind of thing, just more fundamental type stuff. So the textbook is this one, or previous editions, the 5th, the 4th, and there's also an alternative edition. I think you can also rent it from the publisher. The other books are these two. The color of the covers may be slightly different. I just went by the bookstore yesterday and they were red and blue that I saw in there. But so these are my overheads, and these are a compilation of PowerPoints that I put together along with other materials from like the United Nations website and European Union website and stuff like that. This is what I'll be using when we meet for our lectures. So they have these over at the bookstore. If I remember, the two of these together was like 30 bucks or something. I also have these on our Canvas page. Right here on our Canvas page. Let me blow that up a little bit for you. So on our Canvas page, I have the syllabus and course schedule, which I'll get back to in a minute. And then we have BA 47 packet, volume number 1. And that is this red book right here in PDF format. So if you just want to pull it up on your laptops or whatever, that's fine. With that said, however, I do recommend that you either print it out on your own, so you have a hard copy, or buy it at the bookstore. And the reason being is when, like I say, it's open book, open notes for the tests and the quizzes. And there are some very specific parts of various different documents that I'll be referring to, like in the Vienna Convention, in the United Nations Charter. We're going to look at that, like Article 41 of the UN Charter. And you're going to want to be able to look at those pages very quickly when you're taking your test. I mean, not very quickly, but you're going to want to look those up. And I found it's easier. A lot of students will like put little tabs on pages that I will tell you during my lectures, put a sticky on this page because I have a test question about that particular part of a treaty. And so I do think it's probably easier for people if you do have a hard copy, but that's totally up to you. If you want to make notes and whatnot in your PDF, on your computer, I'll leave that up to you. But a lot of people just, I think, like having that hard copy when they're taking the test because you can turn to pages quicker. And I do try to be very specific, especially when I'm asking for very specific questions like Article 51 of the Vienna Convention. You're going to want to be able to look that up. So you can either do it PDF on your own or however you like to do it, but that's my recommendation. We also have Volume 2, which is this, the Blue Book. These are materials that primarily deal with information after the midterm. The Red Book is primarily, let me think. 3/4 of the Red Book will be midterm material, and the last 1/4 in the Blue Book goes more on to the final. But again, since we're not having live tests, that's not really as important. Like I say, all the tests are going to be done online. So these are the two handout books that I'll be using in class. I did some updating on my PowerPoints, so the PowerPoints I do have posted on Canvas are going to be slightly different than what's in these books here. Like I say, I'm still fine-tuning from the Moodle to Canvas conversion, but the material is more or less the same. The slides may just be in a little bit different order, kind of thing. All right, so on our Canvas page, this is where you're going to find the midterm. And again, March 16th is the due date for that. That's the Wednesday of finals week. Online final exam will also be online. Again, no live tests in class. And that's also due March 16th. I recommend you take the midterm, maybe around the middle of the term somewhere. I will tell you when we've got through the lectures that will be on the midterm at that point. And then at that, I don't take it until we've got through all the lectures. But I do recommend you take it earlier in the term. And that way you're not all, like I say, crammed at the end. But if you want to, again, March 16th, if you see over here, March 16th is going to show up everywhere. That's the Wednesday of finals week. That's when everything's due. I've said that about 10 times now. I'm repeating myself, but that way you'll remember. Okay, and then the essay questions are right here. Please work. All right, so for some reason the actual questions aren't showing up, but I will fix that. All right, so if you go, let me go back a page here. Hold on. All right, so this essay question right here, there are 4 essay questions, which you'll find them here. I just realized that my questions didn't download from Moodle, so I have to fix that, which I'll do here in the next week or so. At any rate, so when you do your essays, write them up in whatever word processor you use on your computer and save them to your computer. And what I mean by that is don't write them, there'll be a text box in Canvas. Get it to work. So don't put your answer, write it all in Canvas, because Canvas loses things. I've had that happen before, and then if you don't have your own redundant copy on your hard drive, you got to retype the whole thing. So what's better to do is type it up in whatever word processor you like to use, and then please convert it to PDF format or an RTF format, which is Word. And then I want you to upload your file right here using this link. So all 4 essay questions in one file, and use this upload link. And what that will do is upload your file to Canvas, and that way if it does get lost, you can just re-upload it, reattach it. And then I will grade it in Canvas, and it'll show up in your grade book that way. If you want to send me a duplicate email with your essay questions as an attachment as a backup, that's fine too. And this is just sort of an aside. I've been teaching I teach at Oregon State as well, right now just on their e-campus. And the class I teach there, we do a lot of writing. And I've had a lot of students over the years where Canvas has crashed or whatever. And if you want to go ahead and email it to me, that way I see that you got the work done on time. I can pull it up myself. And then once Canvas gets working again, you can re-upload. But it's always good to have that backup file, not just in my class, in every class, just so you know. Okay. I got to figure out why my questions are showing up on there. All right, the other parts of our Canvas page, so I've divided the Canvas page into the major kind of topic areas that we'll be talking about. And this is where you're going to find the quizzes. And there are 10 of them. Due date March 16th. They're true, false, and multiple choice. And this is the actual quiz right here. And so again, go through and you can do those on your own time, whenever you want, but they're all due March 16th. And just as a reminder, if you're taking the quiz, it should tell you your answer. And if your answer is showing up wrong, but you know for sure it's right, or you're pretty sure, please let me know. The reason why I'm telling you that, again, we converted over, and sometimes when we convert from Moodle to Canvas, it switches up my correct answers. I don't know why it does it that way. It like scrambles them, some setting. And so, like for example, a true-false question, for one student it may scramble and give the correct answer as true, and another student, very same question, may scramble it and say false. And so that's a Canvas error. So if that happens to you, please let me know. Like I say, take a picture with your phone or something, or tell me which question it was, and I'll go back and double check it, make sure, and if it's an error, I'll fix it, okay? I expect that to happen a fair amount. Like I say, this is the first time we've used Canvas in this class, so if that happens to you, please let me know. On the quizzes and on the final, I have not set a hard time for you to be able to take them. In other words, you know, like a 2-hour, you got to do it all in 2 hours or whatever. However, once you start, you've got to finish. And what I mean by that is you can't start, do like 4 questions, then pause and come back a day later and restart it. You have to finish it all in one setting. Now that may take you, 2 hours or something on a midterm or the final, maybe not that long, but just be aware of that, okay? And I think it's also set up so that it's, depending on the quiz or the midterms, once you take the question, you can't go back and relook at it. So I'm going to have to see how that works. On my instructor page, it sometimes shows different than what you guys see. So that's why I don't always know about these little quirks. If you do have any problems, like I say, call me or email me. I actually prefer email. That way I can print it out and I've got it in front of me and I can remember to fix things. Excuse me. All right. So with that said, back to our so under syllabus and course schedule, that's where I have our syllabus. I don't hand out hard copy syllabi anymore because of COVID, plus it wastes a lot of trees. So if you do need a hard copy, if you don't have access to a printer or whatever, let me know and I can make one for you. I also have a course schedule on here under the syllabus and course schedule link. So here's our syllabus, and then we have our course schedule. And I will tell you right now, the course schedule is sort of a leftover from when I used to do everything, including quizzes and midterms face-to-face live. So what it shows is the weeks and the various different subject matters we'll be covering in theory. Oh, it still says Moodle. But these are the pages. So V1 is volume 1, that's right here. And V2 is volume 2, that's the blue book. And then TB is the textbook. So like right here, we're going to start talking about on Thursday, a little bit about the background of international law, the sources of international law. So volume 1, pages 1 through 24. Textbook pages 1 through 10, and then this is the International Court of Justice statute, which is on page 141. That's again Article 38. That's one of the very specific articles I was talking about. you'll get sick of Article 38, trust me. We'll talk about it extensively. But those are my goals. I will tell you right now, I usually get behind on my lectures a little bit, just because of different things. So, these are not hard and fast days, but that's sort of the way I'll work my way through the class. Literally the way I do it is I start at the front page and we just start working our way through. I don't go over every single page in these books. I will tell you that right now. I probably actually will talk about 1/3 to 1/2 of the actual pages. The other ones are more for reference information, especially the printouts from the websites. Okay, so in terms of the course content, kind of the way I've got this class divided up is the first part of the class, we're going to talk about what I call macro international law, and these are some of the background fundamental principles of international law. And then we'll talk about organizations on an international level, just like the European Union, World Trade Organization, a little bit of information about them and how they function, of course the United Nations, and we'll talk about some major treaties that form the basis for international law on more of a global type level. And then the second part of the class, we're going to look at what I call micro internet, sort of like economics, you have macro and micro. So we'll talk more about the micro side of international law. And when I say micro, what I'm talking about, not like the United Nations, it's more global, but the laws that deal with interactions of private individuals, like contracts that cross boundaries, some of the different rules we have on transportation, shipping, different rules we have about some of the different marks that you have to use if you're doing import and export, things like that. So that's sort of how I have these books broken down. This is more of the macro side, international organizations and whatnot. And this is more of the micro side, including the laws that deal with international transactions, more on a company-to-company or person-to-person level that cross international boundaries. So I just tell you that to kind of give you some, you'll see what I mean as we work our way through. All right, any questions so far? No? Okay, let me just go through and make sure I covered everything here. All right. So I do have a few videos that are on our Canvas page. I don't know if they're working. They were working. Those are videos that I put together, most of them, from when this class was remote last year. And they do cover the same materials, but in more of a summary format than we'll talk about in class. My goal is, as you can see, I got my video camera going here. My goal is to try to videotape all of our classes, and I'll try and post them on Canvas for a couple reasons. Number one, if you miss class, you can go watch it. And part two is if for some reason we have to go back to remote teaching, hope not, then I could put those up there. And then if we do have to go back to remote teaching, what I intend to do is I will try to make videos and then post them on our Canvas page. Just like if we were in class, they might even let me come into class by myself and do it. We'll see. Hopefully we don't have to go there again. Parts of it I like, but parts of it no. So, all right. So I think we pretty much covered that. Any other questions from anyone? If you do have questions, again, feel free to call or email me. We're not going to get into any materials. I still have some ad drops to do. So with that said, if you have any questions for me individually, feel free to come on up after. If not, we're going to be done for today. We'll start doing a lecture on Thursday. Oh, I forgot. For those of you that have not had me before, and well, actually, probably most of you, I have a 15-minute rule. Like I say, I'm a practicing attorney. And so sometimes I will get called into court or deposition or status conference with a judge. And I may not literally know about it until 8 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning that day. And so if something happens, if I'm not here by 15 minutes, do we even have a clock in here? No. So if I'm not here by, what do we start at 9:30? If I'm not here by 9:45 and you haven't heard from me, that means I got hung up on something and I'm not coming. Or if I get sick or something. If I know ahead of time, I will announce it in class and I will put an announcement on Canvas. And I will also try to send out a class-wide email letting you know there's no class. But sometimes I just flat out don't have time to do that. I don't do as much trial work and litigation like I used to, so that's not usually a problem. But you just never know if something happens or if I get sick or something. So if I'm not here by 15 minutes, we're not going to have class that day, you're free to leave. I don't anticipate, I've got a couple of cases right now coming up, but they'll probably settle. So I don't really anticipate having any court conflicts this term. If I do, I usually know about ahead of time, so I can let you know. And, oh yeah, one other thing. I prefer, if you want to communicate with me through email or call me. You know, on Canvas, you can send messages. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you can send messages on Canvas to the instructor. But when that comes to me, it forwards the email. It's like an email. It forwards it to me, but I can't reply. I have to actually log into Canvas to be able to reply to it. As opposed to if you just send me an email, I will get that. So the reason why I'm telling you that is sometimes what will happen is you'll send me a message in Canvas and I'll see it, but I won't be able to get back to you right away because I've got to wait till I log on, and that depends on where I'm at. So if I'm on my iPhone, I can't log on to Canvas and respond to it for some reason. I don't know why. And it may be that I'm somewhere out of town or something where I don't have the ability to log on to Canvas very easily. So I prefer that you don't use the online email system. And a lot of professors are that way too, just because it's harder for us to access. So just send me an email, good old email, right? And that's better. But if you do send that to me, and if you haven't heard from me for a couple days, that's probably why. Because the way that the Canvas communication system works is a little different. All right, any other questions? With that said, we'll see you on Thursday.